Wild Sheep Foundation presents Sheep Shape. The morning of September 11th, 2001 started just like any other day for Patrick Scroggin in West Texas. But the news he heard that morning changed his course completely, just as it did for millions of Americans on that unforgettable day.
When I decided to go into the Army, I was a crop duster. I was flying in West Texas, and it was September 11th, and the first airplane to hit the World Trade Center. You know, at that time, we didn't know what was going on. Really didn't think a lot about it. And they called me on the radio and said, you know, another one just hit. Like a lot of Americans, I was pissed. At that moment, I knew I was going to join the military. So March 1st, 2007, 2:30 in the morning, I'm flying a mission in northeastern Iraq. I was involved in a serious helicopter accident. There was no helicopter left. I was laying on the dirt, all the dash was folded over me, and my co-pilot was sitting up here, and I'm mud in my eyes, blood everywhere. I couldn't see out of my right eye, you know, and it's dark. I'm trying to figure out what the heck's going on, and you know, I knew everything just felt funny, and at that point, I believe it's the first time I flatlined, and they got me back to life, and from there, I went to Balad, and I flatlined on that flight to Balad. I mean, I lost so much blood. I had blood clots in my lungs. You know, obviously, I was missing the leg below the knee. It was cut off clean. Then I had an open knee dislocation, and my pelvis was crushed, 9 fractured vertebrae, sacrum was shattered, left arm was broke, hand was shattered, eye socket was broke, and you know, I had a lot of stuff, but I don't remember a lot until you know, a couple months later.
Patrick was so heavily sedated during the months following the helicopter crash that he has no recollection of the happenings around him. The amount of drugs administered to put Patrick in a medically induced coma would be fatal for the average person, but it was just what he needed to stay alive.
They get me up into the hospital room, and all my family's standing around, and that's the first time I saw my wife, and you know, she held it together really good. She really, you know, she's a strong woman. Man, they were all in tears, and I couldn't figure out why. And we get up to the room, and my brother Chris, he walks in, and he's just busts out. You know, he's crying, and I haven't seen him cry too much. And I was like, man, don't worry about it. When I get out of here, we're gonna go. You know, we're gonna go hunting, do all this and that. And he's like, bro, you're missing your leg. I'm like, no, I'm not. I can feel it. And I'm like, I'm moving it right. I'm touching the ground. I thought, you know, I had no idea. And yeah, so it took a few days for me to realize, my leg's gone. The first time I put my prosthetic leg on to walk, when I put that leg on time, that was the most frustrating point in my life. A lot of the muscles in my left side of my body didn't work, my butt. Like, I would try to cock my body and swing the leg through, but it didn't happen like even that. You know, I mean, it would come through real slow. The toe would drag, and I probably maybe for 15 minutes, it seemed like 3 hours I was trying to walk, but for 15 minutes, and I'm holding on to 2 rails, you know, and I'm thinking, man, I sit down in a chair and I look down, and you know, people were trying to talk. My therapist was trying to talk to me, and you know, leave me alone. I want to deal with this, and you know, it's something I had to come to terms with, every day, man, I would just practice and practice and practice and practice. I wasn't like the hard charging, you know, rock soldier. I mean, I was depressed. I mean, there's no doubt about it. For, you know, a good 3 or 4 weeks, I was at the lowest of low points. I mean, I could not figure out. It was why me every day? Why? But it was when my family wheeled me out into a hall, and I saw that first burn patient that was burned 90% of his body. And I went back in my room that night and I told my wife, I'll never bitch again. And I didn't.
Next week on Sheep Shape, the band of 4 hunters travels to Wyoming to visit gunworks to begin practicing their marksmanship in long-range shot scenarios. Then, they split up to begin training to prepare their bodies for the physically demanding terrain they're about to dive into. Each team then travels to the mountains of the Yukon, Alaska, and the Northwest Territories to begin their own quest to overcome their physical and mental limitations.